Hey everyone, welcome back. So today I will be doing a review of the Jordana baked eyeshadows. So you saw previously about 2 or 3 videos ago I did an entire swatch video of all 7 eyeshadows that I have in the collection. Wonderful World sells about 10 and the entire collection itself consists of 12 baked eyeshadows. They come in, I would say, 3 finishes. You have matte ones like this. This one is vanilla bean. You have ones that are more metallic, like this one in particular is bronze gala. And you have ones that are more satin finish, like this one, which is aqua dulce or dulce. So the first thing I'll discuss is the packaging. So the packaging is pretty simple. It's basically a white case and the back of it is black. One thing I will notice, maybe just the ones I got, or that's generally how it works, is that the lid itself is going one direction, and as you can see, the back of it is upside down, right? Yeah. So when you want to read it, like if I want to read it, I have to turn it after turn it on the right side, and well, when you could look at it now, it's upside down. Yeah, so that's just one thing. It's not a big deal, but that's just one thing you have to bear in mind when it comes to packaging. Now, it isn't the easiest thing to open. If you have things like the Wet n Wild 8-pan eyeshadows, you will see that these clips, sometimes it could be very difficult to open. On this one, it isn't as bad as that Wet n Wild one, but you must take that into consideration with the packaging. So for the product now, it contains 3.0 grams of product, and I would say that's a lot of product for what you're getting. You don't need a lot. I will say that from the ones I've got, I noticed that shades like this one, the vanilla bean, the matte ones, majority of the matte ones were very pigmented. As you will notice in the swatch video, you'll be able to tell that this one in particular was very pigmented, and this one as well, which is the metallic bronze color, was very pigmented. However, this one, even when you swatch it wet or dry, was exactly the same level of pigmentation. So I will reiterate the same thing Emily Noel said, because she did a review on these baked eyeshadows, and there are some that, like example Aqua Dulce, that all of them in particular, when you touch it, is very dry, but some like this one in particular, the pigmentation isn't as great. But then there are ones like this that is really pigmented. I didn't plan on doing any swatches today, but let me see. As you could tell, look at this. Isn't this gorgeous? This is one of my favorites because I guess I'm really into the whole bronze thing. I feel like this could be multifunctional. Like if you use this, as you will see it in the next video I'll be doing this week, where I'm doing a smoky eye, and I'll be using this in the inner corners of my eyes. But yes, look how pigmented that is. Versus this blue one that isn't as pigmented. I mean, yes, well, today apparently decides to show up really well. But like this one in particular, for days it was showing up very dry. But I guess the more you play with it, and I guess like you scratch the surface, it becomes more pigmented. Lord have mercy. What is wrong with me? Right here. So you could see that. And of course, this white one, which is my favorite. Well, you saw swatches in the last video, so I'll just either take those pictures, or I'll post the link to that video in the description bar, and I'll also insert pictures at the end of this video. But yeah, so the white one of the vanilla bean is very pigmented. So like most baked eyeshadows, you can apply them either dry or wet. What I will say is that what the premise behind baked eyeshadows, I remember, you know, back in like secondary school days, you would have a baked eyeshadow and it would be very like super sheer, and then when you apply them wet, the whole premise was that you're supposed to apply them wet and they would become more pigmented and more usable. But now you're noticing that there are many big companies coming up with baked eyeshadows, and they're like super pigmented when they're dry, and they're especially more pigmented when it becomes wet. So I guess that's the expectations people have. So that when you get a baked eyeshadow and it's kind of like dry, or it's kind of like sheer when it's dry, but when you apply it with when you apply it wet, it becomes more pigmented. People don't really necessarily want that, because they know you could always get a baked eyeshadow that is super pigmented, both dry and wet, because you don't want to have to go through the trouble of having to apply it wet, because not every day you can foil your eyeshadows here. That's what it's called, foiling, when you use like some kind of mixing medium. Sometimes you use water, or you could use like the e.l.f. Satin Forget? Makeup Lock and Seal, sorry, to apply these. So sometimes people don't really like having to use like a mixing medium to apply their eyeshadows, because you could always just buy a palette that is pigmented. Like, why use the baked eyeshadows when you have to use them wet? You know, some people really don't like that aspect. But these, on the other hand, are really good, and they apply really nicely. For the most part, I would say out of the 7 that I have, 5 are really good. I just have like